Good morning to all. Most welcome. I'm taking Raag Darbari. Now, as often I have said that through reading only, you have to read the text. Until and unless you're reading the text. See, the story is very simple. Ranganath is there. He's from from city to village. He's going to take a break from his studies, and in that village, his maternal uncle is there, Vedji. So he's going to Vedji, and he will stay there. And this is the story where his travel from the city to village. He's traveling, and then he's staying there, and he's looking every character, every incident from his own perspective, and he's narrating the story. In between, mostly the story is being narrated by Ranganath, and the characters, they also speak on their own. There are many significant characters are there. Vedji. What is Vedji? I will read it from the text. And Ramadhin Bhikham Khedvi, who is representing the money lending community. Vedji has two sons, Rupan Babu and his son Batri Pahalwan. One significant character is there who is Vedji's servant. He is Shanichar, and otherwise for the dignity and respect, his name is Mangal Das. So Bhang is one of the one of the seductive drink which is being offered, and it is represented in a very celebrated way. In the morning 5 o'clock, Bhang will be prepared. और उसको एक बोलते हैं घोटना. घोटना means you're blending it very much. I mean too much blending. So it the all the ingredients of it is mixed, and it could produce more seduction. So this is one of the thing, and there are many aspects which I would talk. But today what I'm focusing on, that let's say this text is a text which talks about aspiration and reality. See, after independence, the population of India, the public of India, and the governance of India had many aspirations. And there was a demand and supply. Demand of aspiration and desires, and how the supply is being done. And we find only one institution, one agency which could supply to the demand of the public, that is government. So governance is one of the most significant, and if I say politics and administration, these are the two main themes. Politics and administration is the main, these are the two main aspects around that the story is moving. Women representation is hardly not there, and whatever it is there, it is in a very negative form. So women are represented as, they are either defecating in the public, or they are non-significant. And this, so what is the reality we find as a scholar? We find that this time, most of the institutions, if you see, they are male-dominated institutions. So I have constructed a systematic plan today. Let us talk about that. What are the main points which we are going to talk about? There are 2-3 very significant aspects which I would discuss today. And what is that? See, when you read this text, you find reference of Veda and Upanishada. Veda and Upanishada are these are the a philosophical understanding of Indian society, our culture, our heritage. So what Veda talks about and what Upanishads say, these are very highly philosophical things. Theological aspects are there, which need a lot of deep study to understand it. And we are not going into deep what is there in Veda and what is there in Upanishad, but how the Veda and Upanishada is being used for the personal and the narrow purpose of the people who are interested to take out benefits from the administration and polity. So let me come, because these are the two main significant aspects which I found, and how thus Ved and Upanishad it talks about. Today I have taken the English translation, because most of the time I have gotten information or idea or a desire that we should go for the English translation. So we are purely going for the English translation, and the page number is 76, and let me read out what the Vedanta philosophy says, and how this Vedanta philosophy is being used for the narrow purpose, or for those who are serving administration and who are trying to make the institutions, political and administrative institutions, for their own purpose, for their shallow purpose. This is what we have to see. I just give you the reading and then we would find out. According to Vedanta, to which Vedaji always referred as a synonym for Ayurveda, a factionalism is another name for the ultimate condition of realization that the self, I, and the divine thou. Now please remember, these are the two addresses which are being given, I and thou, मैं और तुम. Okay, this is how the Vedanta philosophy goes on. I and the divine thou. I is a human being who is a mere object, subject, and thou is a God Almighty who has created us. Thou are one. So I and he, I and thou is one. The divine and the self is one. In factionalism, every I see every thou, and every thou sees every I in a position better than himself. They all want to capture each other's position. I want to annihilate thou, and thou to annihilate I, so that I become thou and thou become I. Vedanta is part of our tradition, and because the meaning of factionalism can be drawn from Vedanta. Factionalism is also our tradition. Both are our cultural heritage. After gaining independence from the British, we have discovered many of our traditions. That is why we travel to Europe by air, but first get to astrologer to draw up our program. Now this is the paradox. This is the paradox. So let me, because I'm not expertise on Vedanta philosophy, but the literal and a simple meaning which we all could understand. That is I and thou. It means me, myself, and the Almighty, we are one. He has created me, so I am a part of him. This is what the simple philosophy of Vedanta goes on. Now, how does it is manipulated for the personal and shallow and narrow purpose of the people who are in administration and politics? Okay, so how this? We take the blessings of saints. So, what is that? I mean, see, traveling in an aeroplane is the absolute scientific and advanced technology which you are using, which talks about science and which negates prejudices and superstition. But what is the superstition? Even if when we have to travel further abroad by air, before that we go to astrologer and ask him which day is better, what is better for me. So this is how the paradox of our life and belief is there. At one point of time we are scientific enough, advanced enough to travel in the aeroplane, but at the same time we are so superstitious that before asking to Panditji we cannot board the plane. We take the blessings of saints to rid ourselves of foreign exchange and income tax problem. We encourage fistula by drinking a Scotch whiskey and then go to yoga ashram for treatment through deep breathing and by contracting our stomach. In exactly the same way, we accept the democracy we have learned from a Western education, and to run it, we rely on our tradition of factionalism in our history, whether in peace or war. From royal palace to village threshing floors, we have always had a splendid tradition of running I into thou and thou into I by factionalism. We have forgotten this tradition for a while during the Raj, when we had the bother of running of the British out of country. After we won freedom, we encourage it along with many of our other traditions. Now we are increasing factionalism through argument and abuse, kicks and shoe beating, literature and arts, all other means. This is our cultural faith. This is the achievement of the country which gave birth to Vedanta. So you could understand the irony and the satire. Very deep irony and satire is there. And that's how Dr. Ambedkar also said, the more the society is scientific, the lesser the superstition exists. It's a contradictory. So, but here it is a paradox. We all are in Delhi, and you might have seen it often that in the crossroad, most of the time you would find something is there, some kind of a red cloth or black cloth or something wrapped inside, and that is being thrown. So still those tantrics and this jadoo tona people and the superstition is existing so much in our society. But at the same time, we try to be scientific. So we try to get benefit out of everything for our self purpose. Whether we are sacrificing that belief. So that's how this is very significant. And this is what the translation I have read. Now the next part, which talks about the Upanishada. And what is this Upanishad? So Ved and Upanishad, they are the deep knowledge of Indian philosophy. And it talks a deep, very deep and scientific approach to the humanity. It solves a lot of our problems which we are not able to solve in a normal way. So a study of Ved and Upanishad is so significant. And that's how Bharat had been a Vishwa Guru. We had been the teacher and preacher of the universe. Vishwa Guru rahe hain hum. And ab Upanishad mein kya hai? Similarly, renunciation can be useful political instrument. This had also been said in the Upanishada. That's what all reputed leaders did to this way. They enjoy the fruit of power, renounce them, and then enjoy the fruit of renunciation. Okay, implied in these statements is that Vedaji's vernacular political language is not dissimilar from the language of Congress national leader other than Nehru. While the irony in the use of these cultural references is unmistakable, we also have to admire Vedaji's rhetorical skill. Rhetoric is not only a vital skill for the politician who must defend himself from his enemy's accusation, but is also the necessary quotation of the successful pursuit of one's self-interest within the democratic setup. Occasionally, the well drops, as when the police sub-inspector tells Rupan, "But now we have to serve the people for the citizens," and the Rupan Babu touches his arm and says, "Forget it, apart from you and me, there is no one listening." For Vedaji, by contrast, the rhetoric of democracy and development has become second nature. And this is how, let me take you to the exact reference in the text where this is being discussed. And this is in the, I will just tell you the page number. This is page number 299, translated book I am talking, and the book which I got from market. So it's a Xerox copy, and on this I am telling you the page number. Okay. Then Vedaji was told that they had to set a good example to the community. If they didn't, public behavior would degenerate. If that happened, the present and the future would both are worse off for it. What had Ram done? Hadn't he renounced Sita? That's the reason they still remembered Ram's rule. One should find one's enjoyment in renunciation. That should be our model. That had also been said in Upanishada. That's what all reputed leaders did to this day. They enjoy the fruit of power, renounce them, and then enjoy the fruit of renunciation. You see what? Again, I would tell you, I'm not expertise on Upanishad. But what Upanishada said that you have to renounce. And, renounce. You have to detach yourself with the power and the desires. The more you desire, the more the pain is there. Buddha says the same thing. Detachment is very important. For example, somebody has got a position. What do they do? Generally, what do they do? That, okay, for 5 years I have come for 5 years I have come in the politics. Now, within these 5 years, I have to get a lot of land, start my business and do. So they start thinking about their personal use. And when sometime they are being questioned, what do they say? There is a lot of explanation they give. And that is understood also. Not in open, but, in a hidden way, it is understood. That if somebody is financing you for your politics, if somebody is financing you for election, then they will demand their own interest and you have to fulfill that. So for 6 years, 5 years, you have come as if to make rest of your life comfortable, or to fulfill those, to do work for them who helped you in the election. This is what, it's a practical way. People think, oh, this is what. But what is the purpose of life, that, or the motive, and the people elected you that you are a good person and you are honest, and if you are owning this position, you will help them. For 5 years, this is a chance for you to serve people, because there are number of administration and administrative obligations and a number of opportunities you would find. On the basis of that, you can serve people. For example, if somebody is MLA, MP, easily they can make a long road, they can make schools, they can make hospitals, which an ordinary person cannot do. So this is a position which has given you to utilize your power, your energy, your vision to make people comfortable. This is what Upanishad says, that when you have achieved something, do it, be honest to the purpose. For example, I am a teacher, so I am trying my level best to deliver you the best, whether you listen it or not, whether you are commenting negative on me or not. It is your work, dear. If you think that this is you say anything bad, it is your work which you are doing, but my work is to be honest and to give you the best, which I am trying. And if I am not able to do, I am improving, I am learning. So we have to be committed for the purpose which is being assigned to us. And obviously, we all believe in karma. Your karma will lead. Suppose you are disturbing class, you are making your teacher uncomfortable. This is your karma. So it's not me whom you are disturbing. You will disturb everyone, because that is going to become your nature. Wrong, and I justify in myself, in my mind. It means I am making my belief system comfortable to do next wrong, then next wrong, then next wrong. And wrong's result is always wrong. So you do your karma, let me do my karma. Even if being a expert generation, we all believe this, that our karma lead to, if I do better in the class, next class is better, then next is better. So this is how Upanishad says. Upanishad says that whatever you have achieved, fulfill your duty. Be honest to the work. Okay, but how people have taken it? That, you do the corruption, and then you regret it, and then again you do the corruption, then you regret it. It's not you are renouncing. You are merely, misusing the system, and the regret and the pain comes from within. The moment you start believing, whether somebody is watching you or not, you are honest for the work. So this is what, and that's how, this is very significant. Page chapter 31. Vedaji was told that they had to set a good example to the community. If they didn't, public behavior would degenerate. If that happened, the present and future would both be worse off it. What had Ram done? He renounced Sita. That's the reason they still remember Ram's rule. Now, here also the wrong example has been given. Ram's rule is remembered because he was a very good administrator. Ram's rule was remembered because he was equal to all. He never discriminated anybody. And each one, whether they belong to any community, caste, religion, geography, culture, linguistic identity, color, gender, they were given representation. This is what the Ram's rule is there. And that is the belief system we have to believe. It is not that something which is controversial, something which is not acceptable is being taken as an example. So Ram is doing his duty in his time, what is being assigned to him. And that is how we have to renounce. Renounce means you give up. You believe that this is your duty, whether you get benefit or not, and you have to renounce it. This had been said in Upanishada. That's all reputed leaders did to this. They enjoy the fruit of power, renounce them, and then enjoy the fruit of renunciation. What had a certain finance minister done? Had he or hadn't he resigned? That rail minister had done the same too, and had a certain minister of information. At present, the country, the state, the district, the cooperative unit all need such renunciation. In order to hold an open inquiry into an allegation, it would be best if Vedji were to set an example to the people. As soon as the building of an example was erected, all the allegations would be crushed beneath its foundation. Therefore, Vedji should resign from the post of managing director. That would be the reply to the report against him. If he so wished, he could resign in protest against something, either the character of a college or in defense of the principal. If he were prepared to resign, he would have total liberty to choose the ground for the resignation. So, you know what? Renunciation means you be committed to your work, don't expect any result, and serve the purpose. This is what Upanishad says. Be dutiful. No matter what comes in your way, be dutiful, do your work. But how it has been misinterpreted. Vedji, there are a number of allegations coming in the name of Vedji, that he has done a corruption in the cooperative society, he has done a lot of govern in the panchayat money, and the college is being totally controlled. Administration and everything of the finance of the college is being controlled by Vedji. And what does he say? The moment allegations came, instead of standing for that what he has done wrong, he has to admit and go for the punishment. What he is doing? He will resign. This complaint against him, that allegations against him, he's taking it as an opportunity to get sympathy, and he's resigning. Why he's resigning? Because if he's not resigning, that he is liable to reply all. And after resignation, responsibilities are also gone. Then many things he can deny. Oh, I am not accessible to this. I can't do this. I can't do that. But the fair justice, how does it come? Resignation is demanded because the person cannot influence the investigation. But it could happen other way. After resignation, people become more violent and they influence investigation more severely. So this is how the Vedanta philosophy is also being used for the personal use, which is not good for anybody. Vedanta philosophy, Upanishada philosophy is pure, and this is the extraordinary human belief system which we can rely. So these two aspects, I thought it is very significant. Now let me come to the next one. And what is that? How does the plot of the Raag Darbari is going on? You all know the plot, and I would be giving you some insight into this. The plot of Raag Darbari is simple. Young MA graduate Rangnath comes to stay with his uncle Vedji in Shivpalganj village in order to regain his health after taxing exam. During the course of his stay, he, like many urban Indian, discovers the village to be different from literary images and depiction through nationalist rhetoric. But what to him appear to be aberration are to the villagers the normal ways of life in this college. See, when we talk about village, there is a very significant point which when I was reading, I got to know that most of the time, when we go for advancement and we go for upliftment of every community, then in the farming also, it should be scientific and a very innovative approach must be there. It's a kind of occupation. Farming is an occupation which need all kind of scientific and improved mechanism through which it could be sustained and brought to the higher productivity level. And that's how when our youth, when they leave agriculture, their parents are, there is a very, very, very wonderful documentary which I came to know. It is based on Ladakh. How the India teach something like that. If I get the link, I will share it with you. In which what happened, the Ladakh region, which is there, sometime before, or maybe 2 decades before, school system was not so wonderful. 2-3 decades before, school system was not so wonderful. So the people is primarily traditional and they are in their area and they depend, they have found out all the ways to sustain in that hard, difficult geographical situations. And after that, some time, the school system started, and there was a lot of change suddenly came in the community. And that was that most of the children who went to school, they were more interested to come towards city. And it was very difficult for the Ladakhi people to maintain their culture, heritage, and their religious traditions and all. And then there is a very wonderful documentary I would share if I get a time and I get the link. So see, what the purpose of education is not to detach you from your heritage and your belief and your culture and your identity. It must be other way around. And what happened when children are educating? Why this is there that most of them move towards city? Reason being, because agriculture is totally based on the nature, and it is very difficult for farmers to sustain because they depend on the weather, the forecast and rain and all, and that's how they have to sacrifice a lot. And when we talk about agriculture, mostly the point which I'm trying to make is that after getting education, children must go to their own village and then they serve the community in a better way. But the result is other way around. There is one rhetoric which comes, there is an ironical statement comes in this text. I don't remember the page number, I'll tell you later on, where it says that everyone, leader and politician and everyone is asking children to go for the agriculture, and nobody is ready to go for the agriculture. So no one is trying to find out why they are not going for the agriculture, because it's difficult. It depends on the weather, and there are not high, intensive farming is not there. And the other way around, those leaders and politicians who want to get out of their responsibility, they simply say, okay, wherever you are there, you please be there. That's the fine. So in the name of romanticized village and farming and beauty and all, one has to stick to the village. So it's a paradoxical situation, and that's how Shilal Shukla is making this point very significant. Now let me talk further. So interested in their personal affair than teaching, and student is warming seats than studying. Rigging election, exams and court statement is the norm. The way to get things done is not by protocol, but through a judicious choice of either connection or muscle power. Rhetoric allows you to say one thing and its opposite in the same breath, depending on what best fits the occasion, and so on and so forth. Occasionally given to pangs of conscience because his relatives are the chief operators and therefore the chief villains in the village. Ranganath does not, however, become the conscience of the noble, but himself the butt of irony on the such occasion. And this is a very important statement. Let me read out. Educated people in the India occasionally become afflicted with a certain disease which is known as crisis of conscience. And among them, this disease generally attacks those who consider themselves intellectuals. If Ranganath had been in the town, he would have sat in a coffee house with his friends and delivered a long speech on his college election. He would have said that in a country where such things were done for minor posts, what would people stop at to secure the major ones? Have said all this and spoken a few sentences in faulty English, he would have drained his coffee cup and felt satisfied that he was an intellectual, and that having delivered a powerful speech in favor of democracy and unburdened his heart in front of 4 useless men, he had overcome a crisis of faith. But he wasn't in the town, he was in the country where, in the words of Rupan Babu, you couldn't trust your own father. You know what is the statement made by Rupan Babu? You couldn't trust your own father. And where, in the words of Shanichar, no one would piss on your cut finger, let alone offer to bandages. This is what Shanichar is telling the reality of the people. Okay, and what is this? You try to understand. No one would piss on your cut finger, let alone offer to bandages. When you are in trouble, no one will come to help you. In fact, people will take advantage of the situation. They will destroy you, destruct you more rather than helping you. And Rupan Babu says you couldn't trust your own father. So these are the realistic norms where we find that absolute reality, crude reality of human nature is being discussed here. And so Ranganath could not overcome his affliction. I take you to the exact, this is on the page number 150, and let me tell you the chapter number also. Chapter number is 18. Okay, chapter number is 18, and I am giving you the insight reference, the reference from the text. Please listen carefully. These are very significant statements which could be very useful for your writing answer in your exam. Okay, now listen. On the opposite corner of the land, there was a banyan tree, which stood as if wrapping the whole wilderness. Next to it was a well, and on the wall of the well sat Ranganath. Educated people in India occasionally become afflicted with a certain disease which is known as crisis of conscience. This I have read. Now let me move to the next. And so, Ranganath could not overcome his affliction. Day by day, he became increasingly convinced that he had fallen among dacoits, who, after raiding and looting the college, were now preparing to attack somewhere else. He longed to abuse Vedaji, and longed even more to find someone in front of whom he could freely abuse Vedaji. Where could he find such a companion? Khanna master was a gossip. If he said anything to him, the next day it would go all around the village, and everyone would start saying that Vedaji's own nephew was abusing him. And that just went to show what sort of manner educated people had nowadays. He could talk to Malaviya master, but although he belonged to a faction, he was a simple man, and there would be no fun in telling him. So, who? Ruppan Babu. Ranganath had some confidence in Ruppan Babu. He sometimes abused the principal and spoke about misfortune of the college. Ruppan's complaint was that academically the principal was an ignoramus, but that when it came a worldly wisdom, he was a master, a thorough operator. He had tricked Ruppan's own father into doing everything he wanted, while the latter imagined that he was doing everyone according to his own wish. Also, the principal had, Ruppan argued, behaved very high-handedly with Khanna master. Khanna master might be a complete idiot, but still he shouldn't have treated him so unjustly, because it wasn't right that one idiot should misuse Vedaji's support to beat another idiot. Under the banyan tree, sitting on the edge of the wall of the well, Ranganath breathed a deep sigh of relief, because today, for the first time in a long time, his illness was not troubling him. As it happened, he had summoned up his courage and laid his crisis of conscience before Ruppan. He had told him frankly that his uncle should not have done what he did, and had asked him what the point was in winning the manager's post at gunpoint, if it meant that his name would be told throughout the whole area. Ruppan Babu replied in his own hard-hitting language, "Look here, Dada, this is politics. A lot of even worse thing happen. This is nothing. You have to go even farther than this when you take the path that my father had. You have to finish yourself, your enemies, by whichever means you can. If you can't, you will be finish yourself and will be led sitting filling packers of digestive powder with no one given a damn about you. But improvement are indeed in the college. The principal's bastard. Principal is a bastard. Day and night, he is busy playing with factionalism card. Khanna master himself is the son of an S, but he is not a bastard. That bastard, the principal, has really kept him down. Now Khanna master should come up. I have spoken to father about this too, but he doesn't want to uproot the principal. I have decided that we shouldn't say." So this, you see, this is communication is evident enough that how this plot is going on. And after long looking everything wrong which is happening before Ranganath, he was feeling very uncomfortable, and that's how he decided to to say everything to Ruppan. And here Rupan being the young person, but he's very thorough in politics and he knows the way. So this is how you have to understand, right? There are a certain because we all know that this text is full of irony, and this text is full of mockery. This text is full of satire. What are the poignant satire we find here? Completely, I would say, the whole text is full of that. Every single line is loaded with that meaning. There is only one way that we have to read out every single line. And let me just give you some more significant aspects. You know what? Why this fight is there? Why this conflict is going on? And best example I can give you, primarily, it is the struggle to control the resources of the state. Okay, and in this state or country, we have taken a small unit. Srilal Shukla has taken a small unit. Shivpalganj is a micro level unit, and whatever happening in Shivpalganj, we can assume it's a reflection of the measure. So these three things which I am going to talk here, they are very significant, very important. Please try to listen carefully. A village society in the soil border with anthropological accuracy, a land tenure, caste hierarchy and mobility, group relations, rituals and festivals and myths and belief. Moreover, this is world of caste competition, and in which politics is already crucial for social and economic mobility for the group. At the time, as political scientists would discover a few decades later, political divisions tend to retract pre-existing social division, and mobilization is considered easier even by the socialists along caste lines. As in Raag Darbari, the protagonist, the soil border, at the first appear to be only young, urban, educated, enlightened male character, a doctor in this case. But he quickly becomes observed by the village, which comes to regard him with a mixture of affection and contempt. As a Raag Darbari, much of an irony concern in the political, though the village imaginative use and misuse of political slogans is there the butt of gentle fun. Far from being marginal, Srilal Shukla himself argued, Anchalik literature like Renu represents the mainstream of Indian modernity. The same can be said of Raag Darbari. So you can understand through this statement what I read, and which is said by Gillian Wright. Okay, through which we can find out that again, next some significant points I would like to make. How this whole text is being dominated by the male characters. We hardly find women representation, and that is also not in a very positive way. Right, so you just listen, try to find out. After that, I'll give you again 3 points which are very significant for your understanding and for your answer of the exam. Now let me give you, in 35 compact chapters, Raag Darbari takes Ranganath and us reader through the significant space and critical events in the post-colonial village, with occasional foray into the nearby town. These are the exclusive male institutional spaces. Now listen carefully. Please remember, note this point. Exclusively male institutional spaces. Most of the institutions which are being talked, panchayat, college and cooperative society. These are the 3 institutions. About that we are studying. And how these 3 institutions are being run, and by whom it is being run, in what way it is being run. These are exclusively places which is dominated by the male society. Of the police station is also one. So panchayat, police station, college and cooperative society is being typically controlled by Vediji and his gang. Listen carefully. Why we found women character weak, negatively represented and almost negligible. These are the exclusively male institutional spaces of the police station, the college, the civil court, the village council and or panchayat with its own code, and cooperative union. At the center is the informal pivot of power, that is Vediji's veranda. This is the modern darbar or court, echoed in the title. And then there are other significant spaces: the Mela and Fair, the bus stand, the culverts between field where people sit and chat, the village pond, the wrestling pit, the Chamrahi or untouchable locality, the shops and trucks by the wayside, the rooftop for secret rites. Institutional spaces are important because they may map the presence of the state in the village, while at the same time they reveal how skilled villages like Vedji, Ramadhin become Khedvi, and the principal use public institutions as their personal property. I repeat this statement, very significant. Vedji, Ramadhin become Khedvi, and principal use public institutions as their personal property. Spaces train, एक statement है इसमें, where when we talk about the college building, so there is a wide open space is there in the college building, and where generally grass is growing, and that grass is for the buffalo of Vedji principal. So that grass is being grown for the buffalo of the principal Sahab. Spaces train our look towards how people behave in them, like the sub-inspector half sitting, half reclining on his chair in the police station as on a throne, and to the importance of gesture like touching someone's feet. Touching an official's feet, as scholars have pointed out, does not mean that the villagers, like other ordinary Indian citizens, do not grasp the logic of impersonal norm of the modern state. So there is two norms are being given: personal and impersonal. Okay, impersonal, the moment you are related to any institution, whatever belong to the institution in terms of infrastructure, facilities, whatever, that is not yours. That is being given you to use for the public benefit. You cannot use it for your personal. Suppose there is a computer or there is a something equipment. As a employee of the institution, you cannot bring it to your home. That is for the public. That is being given for you to serve the purpose for that the job which is being offered to you. So these are the institution, panchayat. The panchayat monies could not be for someone's personal use. The cooperative society's benefit cannot be used for personal use. The college building, principal, and rest of the other institutions, they are impersonal institutions. We have to serve them, nothing to do with their benefit and utility. So, and how this is being, impersonal institutions are being used for the personal purpose. Does not mean that the villagers, like the ordinary Indian citizen, do not grasp the logic of impersonal norm of the modern state. In fact, both the feet toucher and touched know that the gesture undermine the logic of impersonal bureaucratic norm or the caste equality that both know should prevail in an office or in the formal interaction. So what is that? When you are impersonal, you are on a post, whosoever comes to you, whether they pay you gratitude or touch your feet or say namaste or not, it is our duty to work for them. We are not supposed to ask first for the personal favor and then they do the work. But we are not able to discriminate between the personal and impersonal behavior. So if any IS officer is there, if any administrative officer is there, until and unless public is humble, public is paying them gratitude and namaste and touching their feet, their work is not being done. It means we are not honest for the duty and the post which is being given to us to serve the public. Vedji will murmur something against the practice while keeping a keen eye on whether the visitor in fact submitting to him by touching his feet. So there is a paradoxical situation. Okay, when someone comes, they have to touch Vedji's feet. But what Vedji would say? Because he belong to an institution and he has to be impersonal. So Vedji will say, नहीं, पैर छूने की जरूरत नहीं है. ना, ये तो मेरा काम था. Oh, this is my duty. I'm assigned for this. This is my duty, I have to do. But at the same time, he will keep a keen eye whether the person is touching his feet or not. Or by chance ऐसा हुआ that the person hasn't touched his feet, 100% his work will not be done. The moment the person is going on, Vedji will say, how rude this person is there. He doesn't know the basic the etiquette. I am elder to him. He didn't touch my feet. So just because the person's work will not be done because he didn't touch Vedji's feet. But at the same time, Vedaji tried to project his image in a very impersonal way. So these are minor thin lines which we need to understand. Okay, and how this, the village which is being most of the time romanticized and displayed in a way, it's green, beauty. Yes, nature is beautiful. Greenery is there, beauty is there, and wide open area is there, air is pure, it's not polluted. But you see the complex structure of the village, where how do they treat women, how this hierarchy, caste hierarchy is there, how this power notion is run, how this caste is existing, how this, these institutions which are impersonal, panchayat, police station, cooperative society, college. These are the public institutions which are being exclusively utilized for the personal benefits. These are the things which we need to understand very, very significantly. Most of the time, this question often comes in my mind, that I should give you the exact lines where we can say about women, and which is very few in this text, but still whatever I could find out, I try to give it to you. Let me just give you this again significant, poignant, direct reference. Occasional reference to the food imports because of the food crisis to non-alignment, or to the recent war with China in 1962, or to the factionalism within what still basically one party system, or the villagers' indifference to village council election before 1990 reform and low caste mobilization turned them into a thriving arena of local politics. Anju Raag Darbari to the 1960s. Similarly, women are practically absent from the still patriarchal village apart from Bela and the veiled women. Some of the women which are being referred as, they are veiled. Nameless a fox of women who throng the fair or square to defecate. So these are some significant aspect I thought of sharing with you. If you have any query, you can ask me. Thank you so much.